All right, then let's go to page 31 in grammar. Page 31. Okay, so those of you who've had my class, actually the only one in here who's had my class before is Eliana. But we have sentence openers. Have you guys heard of that for IEW before, sentence openers? Yeah, one of you has, some of you haven't. That's okay. So, what we do in this class is learn how to start each sentence differently so that it's not repetitive. That's one thing about writing when you're learning to write and you're improving your skills. Forcing yourself to start your sentences differently every time is really, really valuable in writing. It makes the writing so much more um, entertaining, interesting to read, and professional. I mean, what can I say? That's what our goal is to be professional writers. Maybe not as far as a career, but at least for what your classes are, and especially going into high school and college. So today we're going to talk about two different types of openers. This means like how the sentence begins. So the first one is called the subject opener. It's a number one opener. And it starts with the subject. Pretty easy. That's how most sentences start. And we're going to label these with a number one. Sometimes it's the very first word, like this example where it says, Robin spotted a deer in the field. That's an easy one to spot because we know Robin is the subject and it's the first word. So obviously it's a subject opener. Sometimes you'll have other words in front of the subject, like this one. We have the article the, and then there's the adjective swift, and then the subject deer. Even though we have the article and this and then an adjective before it, this is still considered a subject opener. And the subject verb go together, deer leaped. Okay. So you're going to label it with a number one, and we're going to write the word subject next to it when we label it in this book. And I think I see Liana is coming in. Um, Liana, I know you're in the car, so if you don't want to turn on your camera, that's okay with me. And I just want you to know I'm also recording this so you can watch it later if you need to.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So we're learning two different openers this morning, and the second opener is the prepositional opener. You guys already know about the prepositional phrase. You guys are already marking that in the book. This is when it starts the sentence. If it starts with a prepositional phrase, it's called a number two prepositional opener. And we're going to write a two next to it. Now, the numbers here are just what this curriculum calls it. So just so you know, we're labeling these numbers to identify which opener it is. Look at these examples down here. Along the road, Robin walked quickly. We know that along is a preposition. And if you ever get stuck and you're not sure, there's that page at the back of the book, the very back of the book, that has a list of prepositions. Along is on that list. So along the road is a phrase, prepositional phrase. So that's a prepositional opener. Here we have along the narrow and winding road, another preposition, another prepositional phrase. Robin walked quickly. So along is the preposition. It has to be the very first word. This time you can't have anything in front of it. No articles, no, nothing like that. It has to be the very first word has to be a preposition for the prepositional opener. And then this example, along the narrow and winding road toward Nottingham, Robin walked quickly. These all have prepositional openers. There is some comma rules, so there are some comma rules here. If a prepositional opener has 5 words or more, mark it with a comma. And then if two or more prepositional phrases open a sentence, follow the last phrase with a comma. Other than that, you don't need a comma. So look back up here on this example. See how it says along the road? That's just 1, 2, 3 words. So we don't need a comma. Here we have along the narrow and winding road. That has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. That follows the rule. That's 5 words or more. So that does require a comma. So if you have 5 or more in your prepositional phrase, you need a comma after that opener. And here we have an example of two in a row. Along the narrow and winding road toward Nottingham. So along and toward are prepositions. You've got two in a row, so you need a comma after that. Any questions about that page, these two different openers here? No? Okay. On this page, page 32, I do want you to mark this one with a Post-it. This might help you later. Go ahead and get a Post-it if you have one with you. If you don't have one with you, you can do this later. Put your Post-it upside down, the side that's not sticky. I want you to write adverbs. Now, we're talking about adverbs here, and you already know about the ly adverbs. You're already using them in your writing. You know how to find them in this book. Well, now there's other words that don't end in ly that are adverbs, and that's why I want you to mark this page. And if you have a highlighter in your pack of stuff, which you should have for my class right there with you, I want you to use your highlighter and find the words right here that say very, together, never, and soon. Go ahead and highlight those four words right there. Very, together, never, and soon. I also want you to find a little further down on the page right here where it says the words yes, no, not, and to. Do you see that down here? Highlight those words too. Yes, no, not, and to. So these words can sometimes function as adjective or adverbs, sorry. These can function as adverbs. So these are extra words other than the ly ones. The ly ones are easy to spot, right? So remember, adverbs always tell how, when, where, why, or to what extent. That's what adverbs tell. That's what they answer. So the first example is an easy one. Robin usually had his bow with him. So usually has the ly. That's an easy one to spot. That's the adverb. And it's telling when. When did he have his bow with him? Usually. The next example, Robin always had his bow with him. When did he have his bow with him? Always. Now that one does not have an ly, but that's in this list. Oh, no, it's not in that list. I would highlight always too on here. I thought it was up here, but it's not. Always can be an adverb. And then here, Robin did not have his bow with him. That word not is actually an adverb because if you ask yourself, when did he have his bow? Not. He did not have it. And then the last example here shows how to label them. Robin was very confident as he carefully aimed at the deer. So he was very telling what extent, very confident. And then carefully is the ly. That's an easy one to spot. All right, so go ahead and stick your Post-it on there. If you need that page later when you're doing your homework, stick it above so you can find it really quick. Because the adverb list is growing here. Okie doke. How about Esther? Could you please read our sentence today?
In anger, the forester impulsively sprang to his feet, grabbed his bow, and shot an arrow at Robin.
Nice. Okay, impulsively. Do you guys know what impulsively means? Anybody know what that means? It means like when you're impulsive, you do it almost automatically. I always think of like if you're at a soccer game and you're watching your brother play or whatever, and the ball all of a sudden is heading towards your face, you impulsively put up your hand to block your face, right? You don't want it to hit your face. So it's like an impulse, like you're reacting to it. So that's what's happening here. He sprang to his feet. He just automatically did it. Check. Two articles, go ahead and find those. All right, and then Eliana, how about the 6 nouns? Where are those nouns? Yeah, go ahead and unmute. No, I still can't hear you.
Oh, I forgot I was on mute.
That's okay.
You said nouns?
Yes, please.
Okay. Forester,
Good.
Feet,
Good.
bow,
Good.
arrow,
Good.
and robin.
And robin, but there's one more. This one's a little tricky.
More something
Wait, say it again.
or there is another noun.
Yeah, there's actually six. So it's actually right here in anger. That's a tricky one because normally we think of anger as an adjective, right?
Yeah.
Angry. But this is a noun because we have the word in, and in is a preposition. So that's how we know this is a noun in anger. It's a prepositional phrase there. And then Emma, what about the adjectives, words that describe the nouns?
Um, his bow,
Yes, very good. His bow
his feet.
and his feet. There you go. His, even though it's a pronoun, it's going to function as an adjective here. There's one adverb, Dakota. Where's the adverb?
Um, impulsively.
Yes, good. So this one's easy to spot because it does have the ly. Most of the time it does. But yes, that's the adverb. And Eliana, are you writing this down? Make sure you write this down, okay? And then the coordinating conjunction, Chloe, that's the fanboys. You guys remember those fanboys? Oh, she's not there. How about Liana, do you have your book and do you want to try to help here or are you just listening in?
I could do it.
Okay, where's the fanboys word?
And
Yes, there you go. Good. Check. Remember, this is for and nor, but, or, yet, so. I'm going to come back to the prepositional phrases because they're easier to find at the end. So I'm going to skip to the subject verb pair. So Chloe, let's find the verbs. Where are the verbs in the sentence?
shot,
Yep, shot. Good.
spring,
Good. One more.
grabbed.
Good. Now, who did those things, Chloe? Who's the subject?
Forester.
Good. Nice. So that's the one we would label with an N and an S for subject. Very good. Now the prepositional phrases, those are a little easier to find. Esther, where are the prepositional phrases?
Let me see.
So you're going to look for the words that don't have a label yet. That's why we save it till the end. It makes it easier to find.
Um,
That's okay. You see how N right here at the very beginning doesn't have a label on top of it yet? That's a clue. Yeah, in anger is one. What else?
um,
Do you see any other words that don't have a label yet?
two,
Good. So that's a preposition and it goes until you say to what? How do
two
we?
feet
Yes, good. To his feet. Good. One more.
at Robin.
Yes, excellent. Very good. Check those. So that's a clue for you guys. Save it to the end and then you can tell if it doesn't have a label, that's probably the preposition. There is one opener, Eliana. What kind of an opener do we have here?
Together, but just watch this.
Um,
Yeah.
in a
Yeah, what kind of an opener is that? Well, it's a prepositional phrase, right? So what kind of an opener is that? It's a prepositional opener. Remember, we just talked about that. The two that we know is subject opener and prepositional opener. Prepositional. So go ahead and write that word prepositional, and we're going to label it with a 2 with a circle around it. There's 2 capitals in here. Go ahead and find those. Robin. And we need a couple commas. Emma, do you know where the commas go?
After sprang to his feet.
Sprang to his feet. Yep, comma. And then what?
Grabbed his bow.
Yes, good. So basically, it's listing 3 things he did, right? Sprang to his feet, comma, grabbed his bow, comma, and shot an arrow. That's exactly right. So remember, when you have 3 or more parts of speech that you're listing, you need commas, and then the end mark is just a period. Okay, nice job, you guys. Any questions before we move on about grammar or anything? Okay. All right, let's go ahead and put this away. And you guys wrote about the miller, his son, and their donkey this week. Let's see. Does anybody feel like sharing their story about the miller, his son, and their donkey? I see 2 people. Okay, and Esther. Okay, did anybody already read for the class before? Did you guys, you haven't yet, Eliana? You have, Esther, before? Have you already read before too, Dakota? Okay, but Eliana's saying no, so I think I'll have Eliana go first. And then how about Dakota? And then Esther next week. Okay, remind me next week and you can go. I'm going to make a note here too. So we'll have Eliana read and Dakota. So do you have it, Eliana, on your end? Go for it and tell us your title first.
Okay. So my title is James, Bronze, and Donko, because James is the miller, Bronze is his son, and Donko's the donkey.
That's cute.
Once upon a time, there was a poor miller named James who got his son Bronze to sell their donkey. His name was Donko, but they need to sell their donkey at town. That was miles away from where they were standing. While walking, they came across 3 young men. Why, you rude fellow! Your son looks like he is dying. Let him ride the donkey. So James the miller immediately mounted his son on the donkey and then continued to walk beside him. Then they came across an older gentleman that shouted loudly, "Get down, boy! Let your old caregiver rest his weary limbs." Immediately, James made his son dismount and got on. They were getting closer and closer to town when they stumbled upon another person. "Why, you lazy fellow, your poor son can't catch up, and you're on the donkey. That is rude for your father to do to his son." The miller followed his instructions and let his son up with him. They were almost to town, and they stumbled upon yet another person. They shouted, "You're overloading the poor donkey. Why don't you carry him, as he has been carrying you?" So the miller and his son tied legs together, and with the help of a pole, they carried him to town. When people spotted them carrying the donkey, they thought it was odd and began to laugh. Donko did not like the noise nor how he was being treated, so Donko broke the cords and fell into a river. James and Bronze never saw Donko again. The end.
Aw, good job, Eliana. Go ahead and give her a clap of the camera. You can use the reactions on your Zoom. Nice job. I liked it. I heard a bunch of great ly adverbs and who, which clauses. I heard that in there and it flowed nicely. I love the names too. It was cute. Good job, Eliana. Okay, Dakota, do you have yours in front of you or do you need me to pull it up for you?
I have it in front of me.
Perfect. Okay, so go ahead and start with the title and then you can read your version of the story.
Never trust opinions. A miller who was poor went to town to sell his donkey. The miller's son was a young, helpful boy. An opinionated and bossy woman approached them dramatically with a stern look on her face. Then she said, "Why walk when your son can ride the donkey?" So the miller put his son on the donkey. When they were continuing on their way to town, an old man came up to them slowly and said, "Get your son down from that donkey and rest your weary bones." Another man from a crowd said, "Why, you lazy fellow, why ride when your son can hardly keep up with you and the donkey?" After what the man had said, the miller brought his son up with him on the donkey. When they were still continuing on their way to town, a man commented that they are overloading that poor donkey who was small. Then he said sarcastically, "You might as well carry the donkey." So the miller and his son tied the donkey's legs together. With the help of a pole, they carried the donkey on their shoulders and then went over a bridge. Then the donkey, who got laughed at by a crowd of people and got spooked, then fell into the river. Then the miller said frustratedly, "Well, there goes my money for us." Finally, they thought they could sell their horse, and of course, it happened all over again. After that, they never trusted anyone's opinions. The end.
Nice. Good job. Let's clap for her. I like that. I like that little twist at the end. They were going to sell their horse, and then it happened all over again. And I heard some great ly adverbs. I heard sarcastically. I heard frustratedly. Those were really good. And then all your who, which clauses and your title. I love your title too. Good job, Dakota. All right, this is great. You guys are doing a great job with these. So we're gonna put away week 4 now, and the first page that I want you to put away is that yellow page. That is the chart here, retelling narrative stories. This one. This is page 39. It should be in your front pocket. This needs to go behind the tab that says model charts and outlines. Okay, there's other yellow pages there. You're going to add that to the back of that. So go ahead and put that page away. The rest of the stuff for the miller, his son, and their donkey can go behind, or it actually can go in your separate folder where your finished work is. Just put it away in a different folder. And then you're going to go ahead and get out 7. The next week, which is week 5. And this is going to be at the front of your binder behind source text tab. There's going to be 4 pages you're going to get out from here for week 5, Odysseus and the Cyclops. Did I remember to hit record? Okay, good. I just had to check. Wasn't sure. You'll also need a piece of lined paper. So go ahead and get out the next week, week 5. Don't forget to close the rings, you guys, like when you're turning pages and stuff, make sure your rings are closed up. Okay, once you get week 5 out and a piece of lined paper, go ahead and give me a thumbs up so I know you're ready. If you need any help with any of this, you can go ahead and ask a parent if they're home right now, and they can come and help you with that. Got it, Esther? Okay. Eliana, you ready? All right, good. Thank you for that. And then Dakota, okay, I see your thumbs up. Chloe, you got it? I see yours, Liana. Week 5, it should be 4 pages. Okay, did you notice there's a blue page in here? And if you've had my class before, you know what the blue page is. Remember the blue page? Banned words. Wah, wah, wah. Banned words. Let's just get that out of the way. So banned words means these words that we're going to put in these boxes above are words that you're not allowed to use. And not because they're bad words, but because they're overused words, okay? They're words that can be boring. And this is a challenge for you. Now we have these banned words. That means you can't use them anymore in my class. That's going to challenge you to come up with a better word to use. All right, so get my list here. The first one is, and you're going to write this at the very top here in this little box right here, say and then said. And you can see how it has that diagonal line in that box. That just means we're crossing it out, right? We're not using say said. Say said is now banned. So typically when you guys write your papers, you write in past tense. So we're going to focus on past tense verbs here. What is another way to say to a character says something? Instead of said, what could we use instead of said when a character is speaking? You could, okay, Eliana,
Replied.
nice. I like that. Dakota.
Um, I don't know where the blue paper is.
Oh, it should have been in your stuff from week 5. It's page 49.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe look back in there behind that first tab. It should have been in there because there were 4 pages you got out and one of them is blue. So maybe look in the stack that you got out. Did you see it in there? You got it now, Esther? Or was it
What?
Esther? Do you have your blue page now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Emma, do you have yours? Okay. I think everybody's good now. What's another way to say it? Maybe we could say shouted. Emma?
If someone's like yelling it, you could say exclaimed.
I like it. Exclaimed. Yes, that's a good one. Oops. CLAI. Go ahead and write these down. So what we're doing is making a list of good words to use. So say said is banned, but these words that we're writing here are good. So we're making a list so you can go back to it later and use one of these. Esther.
Scold or shout.
Yeah, we already have shout. How about scolded? We'll use past
Scolded.
tense. Yeah. Scolded. I like that. We could even use yelled. Dakota, do you have your paper, your blue paper?
I don't think it's in my binder.
Oh, you didn't see it in there? You were the one that said
No.
that. Okay. Maybe later try to find it. I recorded this, so when you find it, you can go back to the recording and make your list, okay? Or you
Okay.
can actually use a lined paper right now too.
Okay.
Questioned is one. If a character is asking a question, could say questioned. So there's lots of them. These are just a few ideas. So the list is long. I'm going to stop there. But when you think of things to add, go ahead and add to this list. You can even use the back of the paper. The other one we're banning today is see and saw. So you can't say see, saw anymore in your writing. You're going to have to use a different word for that. So we're going to, again, use past tense. So what is a word for saw? Like if you saw something. What's another
Spotted.
way? Spotted. Okay, I spotted something. Yes. Maybe watched. Chloe
Looked.
looked good or looked at, basically. Um, observed. Esther?
Stared.
I like it. Stared. Eliana?
Found?
Yes, good. Found. Nice. Okay, we're going to stop there for that list. But like I said, there's others. You can add to it. So instead of saw, don't use saw anymore. Don't use said anymore. You can use these words. Okay. All right. It might be a challenge for some of you. This might be something new. So, but on your homework, I'll highlight the word and I'll say, uh-oh, banned word. And then you got to fix it. Okay. So try really hard not to use it. Otherwise, you'll have to go back and fix it later because I'm always looking for those. All right. Got that? Everybody wrote that down? Okay. Let's go to your lined paper next. And we're going to set up your story sequence chart for this next story that we're going to read. So go ahead and put your name here, your first and last name here. Today is 10/16/25. The story this week is called Odysseus and the Cyclops. And I'm going to forewarn you, it has to do with some Greek gods. And it has to do with something kind of gory. Just going to forewarn you, okay? Just like letting you know ahead of time. And by the way, it's all fake, all of it. It's just a fiction story, just a made up story. But it's called, skip a line, and it's called Odysseus and the Cyclops. And we're going to build an SSC, which you guys already know now is a story sequence chart. When you're writing a story like this, that's fiction. This is a made up story. There are parts that we need to include in a certain sequence or order. So skip a line, and the first step is going to be to draw a line down about that far. Obviously, mine's crooked. That's okay. Esther?
Should I write it in pen or pencil?
Good question. For this part, you can choose pen or pencil. It's up to you. If you're writing your paragraphs, though, you need to use a pen at that point. But for this notes, you can use pen or pencil. It's up to you. Good question. Drawing the line down, and on the right, we're going to fill in the keyword outline. We're going to do Roman numeral 1, move over a little bit, and do 1, 2, 3. And then skip. Actually, we're going to need 4. Let's just go ahead and put 4 in here. We're going to need it this time. Skip under 4 and do Roman numeral 2 and do another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip Roman numeral 3. Don't worry, I'll slow down in a second here. 2, 3, and 4. This is a 3-paragraph model. If you're writing a longer story, that's a sequence, like a fiction story, you would use more Roman numerals, but the basic format stays the same. The beginning of your paper is going to be introducing the characters and the setting, and then we move into each part. So before we get too deep into that, though, let's go ahead and trace the line right above each Roman numeral all the way across. And then one at the very bottom wherever your line ends so that we end up with 6 boxes like that. And I already kind of gave away what happens in the first paragraph, but you remember from when we talked about the miller, his son, and their donkey, we introduced the characters first. So go ahead and put characters here and then put slash setting. In this first paragraph, we are answering the questions who and where and when. Sometimes we answer when. So those are the main things we're asking and answering in the first paragraph. This is setting up the story. You have to tell who's in the story and where they are and when it is and how it looks. This is how we tell a story. Like if you think of Kung Fu Panda, for example. I think I talked about that last time, where, in the beginning of the movie, the first one, he's playing with those action figures, and they're all the characters on the team, on the Kung Fu team. And you're getting to know the characters right from the beginning of the movie. It's really important that you understand who is in the movie first in order to understand the plot. Same with a book or a story. In the middle, does anybody remember what we talk about in the middle here? What are we talking about after we introduce the characters and setting? What happens here? You guys remember? Chloe.
The problem or like
Yes. Do you remember the other word?
the climax or is that the end?
No, that's at the end. It's close. It's conflict. Yeah, there you go. Conflict / problem. Very good. Every good story, every good book, every good movie has a problem or a conflict. That's what makes it interesting to see how are they going to get out of this situation. So the conflict and the problem, you're going to answer the question, what? Like, what does the character need? What does the character want? What is the problem? What are they going to do about it? And then Chloe gave away one of the words for the last paragraph, climax. What is the other word that goes with climax? Do you guys remember the other word we put in the end there? Oh, she knows too. Okay, Chloe, what's the other word?
Resolution.
There you go. Climax / resolution. And this is where we answer the question, how? How is it solved? And Eliana, are you writing all this down? Okay, good. This is the part where I have a little space down here. I'm just going to draw a little picture of that pointy mountain. Remember, this is a peak. This is the peak of the story. This is right at the top of the story, right? One side, he can fall into spikes. The other side, he falls on a nice, soft, dense cloud. So he's safe, right? So we don't know what's going to happen here. Could go either way. I like to put these little hash marks next to him, like he's wobbling, like he's like, whoa, 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 what's going to happen? So this is visual because you guys know I'm a visual learner. And it helps me remember this is the peak of the story. This is where we don't know what's going to happen, if the character is going to live or die, be lost forever, or find his way home. That's the climax right there. All right. Now we're going to get into this story. I gave you a little warning about the story. I will say it's entertaining. Does anybody feel like reading this story? You guys feel like oh, I see a couple hands. Nice. How about Esther? You can read the first side, and then Dakota, you read the back. Okay? Yeah, it's a long story. So Esther is going to read the front, and then when you get to the end, you can take it from there, Dakota. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Returning home from the Trojan War, the Greek hero Odysseus and his men encountered the great storm that carried them to an island of the Cyclops. These were crude, uncivilized giants who had one round eye in the middle of their forehead. They raised sheep, drinking their milk and making cheese. Exploring the island, Odysseus and his friends found the cave of the Cyclops.
Polyphemus is his name. Polyphemus.
Son of Poseidon. They thought to take some milk and cheese and lamb and supply for their journey, but Odysseus chose to remain there, hoping to learn what kind of man the shepherd might be. Returning home that evening, Polyphemus
Good.
the flock inside and pushed a huge boulder across the entrance. After he made a fire, he saw the Greeks hiding in a corner and asked them if they were pirates or traders. Odysseus responded. They exclaimed they were certainly not pirates, but soldiers returning from the Great War. The Cyclops, unimpressed with the story, caught up. The two of the men dashed them around the store, them limb.
Oh, hold on. Slow down just a little bit. Okay, Esther, you're going a little too fast. Try that sentence again. When he saw Odysseus responded, start from there.
Odysseus responded and exclaimed that they were certainly not pirates, but soldiers returning from the Great War. The Cyclops, unimpressed with the story, caught up two of them and dashed them on the ground, tore them from limb, and devoured them, leaving not even the bones. Full of, can't say,
Polyphemus.
yes,
Uh-huh.
settled into the slumber. Odysseus knew that were he to kill the giant in his sleep. He and his men would surely die in the cave, since they would be no way for them to move such a gigantic rock. The next morning the giant awoke, milked his sheep, and devoured two more of Odysseus' men. He then left with his flock, blocked the entrance to his cage with the massive boulder. While the Cyclops was always they
Away.
away, they planned their escape. They sharpened a great pole in the cave and hardened the tip in the fire. Odysseus recruited his bravest men to help implement his plan.
Implement. Uh-huh. Okay, good.
Polyphemus returned, milked his goats, and devoured two more men. Odysseus then offered the giant a drink of sweet and strong wine that they had brought him. It had been given to Odysseus by a priest of Apollo at Ismara.
It's Ismaris. Okay, good. Now Dakota can take it from here on the back.
The Cyclops drank it, enjoyed it, and asked for more, promising Odysseus a gift if he would tell him his name. Odysseus gave him the rest of his wine. My name is No One, answered Odysseus. Now my gift? Polyphemus
Polyphemus. Good.
responded, Ha, your gift is that you will be eaten last. He then finished the wine and fell into a sound sleep caused by the strong drink. As he was sleeping, Odysseus and his men heated the sharpened pole until it was red hot, climbed into the giant's great chest, and with all their might thrust the sharp pole deep into Cyclops' single eye. The wood hissed in the eyeball like hot iron hisses in water. Odysseus and his men jumped off just as the giant leaped up screaming. He tore the stake out of his eye, pushed the boulder aside, and screamed for help. Are you under attack? Asked the other Cyclops. Polyphemus cried out, No one has hurt me. Well, if no one is hurting you, it must be the gods that do it, and we cannot help you against them. The giants returned to their caves. On the third day, the blind Cyclops let his sheep out of the cave one at a time. As they went by, he touched their backs, as he wanted to be sure that the men did not escape. However, Odysseus and his comrades
Comrades.
grasped, comrades grasped the underside of the large rams and clung them as they left the cave, evading detection by the Cyclops. They hurried to their ship, boarded it, and rowed with all their strength. As they left, Odysseus shouted, You are an evil beast, Cyclops, to devour strangers in your cave, and are rightly served in losing your eye. May the gods make you suffer worse than this. Polyphemus heard him and hurled a great rock in the water, which almost drove the ship back to shore. But the crew redoubled their efforts. Odysseus shouted to the giant, I am not one, I am not no one. If any if any asks you who put out your eye, tell them it was Odysseus of
Ithaca.
Ithaca. The Cyclops hurled another great stone. This one barely missed the ship's stern, but created a huge wave that propelled them almost to the other shore.
Okay. Whew. I forewarned you. So we've got these creatures that are kind of creepy, right? Giants with one eyeball. And this Polyphemus guy, Cyclops, lives in a cave, milks his sheep, and makes cheese. Kind of odd. Okay, so this soldier that's coming through from war, um, Odysseus, is wanting to understand this Polyphemus had his way of life, right? So he decides he's going to watch how he lives, and then they get trapped, right? They get trapped in the cave. And then the Cyclops Polyphemus sees them. And that's when it gets really gory because then he kills them and eats them. Okay. And then they have to devise this plan with a giant pole that's sharpened in the fire. And the grossest part is stabbing this Cyclops in the eyeball and it hissed. That's really gross to me. But anyway, then he became blind, and then they were able to escape by hiding under the giant rams. I think these were oversized rams because I don't know, these men were hanging underneath them, so I'm thinking they were like oversized. Yes, Dakota, I see your hand there.
I found my banned words list.
Good. Okay, good. So you can probably just watch the video later to fill that in because I already erased mine. Sorry about that. But
Okay.
um, anyway, that is the story of Odysseus and the Cyclops. There you go. Entertaining though, honestly. All right, so here we're going to write your version of this story. Now, we're going to write down the facts and the information from this story, or the information, I should say. They're not really facts, it's more of a fiction story. But we're going to write it all out, and then I'm going to give you a chance to kind of change it up a little bit when you go to write your story this week. But let's talk about the characters and the setting. So, Esther, who's the first character that's mentioned in this story? Who does it talk about first? You're muted in case you don't know. The very first sentence, basically, or the first couple sentences, tells us who is in the story here.
The Odysseus and his men.
Odysseus and his men. Let's talk about Odysseus first. So let's go ahead and put his name here. E-U-S. And Odysseus is a Greek hero, right? He's the first character that we learn about in the story. And then, yes, he does have his men with him. And later he refers to them as his comrades, but they're also soldiers. So you can use the word men, comrades, or soldiers, whatever you want to put here for the next one under one. I'm going to put soldiers. And you can copy mine, or you can make this your own by putting your own version of this or your own interpretation. But now that we have that, oh, Eliana, what can we say about the soldiers? Or actually, let me ask you this. Where are they in the story? Let's go into like the setting.
You said they get trapped in a cave, right?
Yes, but before we know about the cave, where are they? Where is the cave? Remember at the beginning? That basically that first sentence tells us toward the end of the sentence.
Okay. Returning home.
No, right here.
Island of the Cyclops.
Yeah, there you go. So they're on an island. Let's go ahead and put island. And this word, if you noticed, has a ES and it is pronounced cyclopes. And that is the plural version of cyclops. So if it's one, it's cyclops. If it's more than one, it's cyclopes. That's how so this is it. And he was with his soldiers on an island of the cyclopes. That's where they are. And now let's go into Liana. How can we describe these creatures? What do they look like? Kind of goes into it up here at that first paragraph. After the island of the Cyclops, it tells us what they look like, kind of a little bit about them.
one round eyeball in the middle of their forehead.
Yes, and they're giants, right? It says that too. All right. So we could do giants. And it's a large, I'm just gonna put LGI. And Liana, what do they do? Like what it's kind of weird, but these giants, what do they do? Like what is their way of life?
They raise sheep and drink their milk and
Yeah.
make cheese.
Yeah. Do you know what it's called when you have somebody who raises sheep? Do you know what the name of that person is?
No.
Esther, what is that?
It's a shepherd.
A shepherd, right. So we'll call them shepherds. So they're giants with a large eye and they're shepherds. They raise sheep, drinking their milk. And then, as Eliana said earlier, and make sure your camera's on, Eliana, it does talk about the cave. So let's put that part next. So remember, this first paragraph is all focused on who is in the story and where they are, giving descriptions of where they are in this story. They're in a cave. And then, Chloe, what is the name of the Cyclops? That's the main Cyclops of the story. Do you remember that guy's name? Starts with a P.
Like Polyphemus or something.
Yeah, Polyphemus. I'm going to put his name. It's a weird name. It's a Greek word. That's why it's weird. Polyphemus. And he's in this cave with his sheep, right? He's got his sheep in his cave here. And it says that they went inside, so the uh Polyphemus. Odysseus goes inside the cave with his men now. And then remember, the Cyclops builds a fire right here in the middle of the next paragraph. So they're inside, the flocks are inside, and he pushed a big boulder across the entrance. After he made a fire, so the light of the fire, he sees the men in the corner, right? So for number 4, let's put fire. He builds a fire and he sees the men in the corner. And he pushed a boulder. I'm going to draw like a little cave. That's a cave, by the way. And then I'm going to put like a big rock. I'm going to draw an arrow to it. And you guys can do that however it makes sense to you. But basically, you're going to show that he pushed a big boulder in front of the entrance of the cave. So now they're trapped inside. So he goes inside, he brings his sheep in, he builds a fire, and then he sees the men in the corner. And then, Emma, what does the Cyclops ask about the men? What does he say to the men, or what does he ask them?
He asks them if they're pirates or traders.
Pirates or traitors, yes. So I'm thinking at this point, and this is Polyphemus. He is the Cyclops, the main Cyclops in this story. So I'm going to circle that P in up here so I can use that as a symbol now. And now we can say P, Polyphemus, asks, I'm going to put a dash and I'm going to put pirates, question mark, traders, question mark. But Odysseus, let's do O with a circle. I'm going to circle it up here too so I can remember. Okay, Odysseus, he's the soldier. He's the Greek hero. He says, no, we're soldiers, right? Exclamation point. I'm just squeezing it in. I'm at the edge of my paper, but that's okay. So uh, Polyphemus says, are you pirates or traders? And Odysseus says, no, we're neither one. We're soldiers. So you're going to have some speaking parts here in your paper when you write this week. And don't forget the word say and said. those words are banned. So you're going to have to think of how does he ask these questions? You could use the word like questioned. Polyphemus questioned the men, "Are you pirates or traders?" That would be a good one. And you could say Odysseus responded, "We are soldiers in the war." That's an example. So try not to say said in your story. Stay away from that. What happens? Um, let's see, Esther, what happens when if they say, "No, we're soldiers"? What does the Cyclops do now? Back on the
Um,
story if you need to. After he said, "No, we're soldiers coming from a great war."
the Cyclops, I'm impressed with the story, caught up to the two men and bashed them to pieces on the ground.
Yes.
And devoured them.
And devoured them. So basically ate them. Dakota, what were you going to say?
I was thinking, when we use when the said is we're not allowed to use anymore.
Yeah.
Can I like use it like one or two times?
No,
Or
no, that's the thing with those banned words. You're not allowed to use
okay.
it at all. They're banned. Good question, though. So you're going to have to really stretch your brain and think of, and you can use a thesaurus to look up other ideas, but okay, so basically the Cyclops, so from here you can either refer to him as P for Polyphemus, or you can use C, Cyclops. You can kind of interchange those two. I'm going to circle that C and I'm going to put C. He basically dashed them to the ground, right? And devoured them. However you want to put that in your outline, you can decide. He, what does it say? Dashed them. I'm going to put, devour two men. And then he fell into a deep sleep, right? I'm going to put sleep on here. If you don't have room for sleep, if you already used three words, you could do like Z's for a symbol for sleep. But basically, he was unimpressed. And you can use that word in your paper when you write it, or you can explain it another way. All right. Your job this week is to finish this. Okay. You've got some more to go. You're talking about the problem here. This is where now they have a major problem. They're getting eaten, they're dying. You're going to talk about the sequence of what happens next. This part, the climax, is when he gets stabbed in the eye, and we don't know if he's just going to kill everybody or if they're going to survive. Yes, Esther, I see your hand.
Can we do the first one on the climax and resolution?
Which one do you want to do?
Just like the first part.
Well, this is where, and I'll just tell you, we don't have time to write it, but this is where the Cyclops is screaming because he's just been stabbed in the eye, right? So up here, you're going to talk about how he kept devouring them, and then they came up with a plan, and then they stabbed him in the eye. And then here it moves into he runs out of the cave saying, "Help, help, I'm under attack." Does that help you, Esther? Okay. So don't forget on your checklist, guys. You've got another dress up. So you're going to need three words underlined in each paragraph this week. Ly adverb, who, which clause. Strong verb is just basically like the list of words that are good to use instead of saw or said. Using one of those is a good strong verb. So if you use like questioned, that you can underline that. Or if you used found, underline that word. So one of the words from your blue list that are good to use, those are good strong verbs. And here it says, say, said, see, saw. Those are banned now. So don't use those anymore. All right, sorry, we had to kind of speed up at the end there because we ran out of time. But does anybody have any questions about homework this week? You're going to finish your story sequence chart. You're going to write 3 paragraphs. And you're going to use your checklist. Okay? All right. Sorry, I went over a little bit. That's it for today, you guys. Good job. And I'll see you next week. I can't wait to hear your stories. Bye. Bye, Liana. Bye, you guys. Bye, Dakota. Bye, Esther.